Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast. And if there's a buzzword that will probably be the buzzword like for the next 5 years, it's certainly been a buzzword for the last two, it's AI and how AI is in everything. And if you've noticed, you can't get away from it right now. Every app, every software company, everyone, now that AI is available, is incorporating some version of AI into what they do now. And so...
my favorite things are the summaries.
Yeah.
When it summarizes something, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It got it right.
Well, do you see the potential, though, for that being maybe a problem?
Of course, all of it is a potential problem.
Yeah, because you're not getting the full recap of what everybody exactly has said.
It's like we're all full of Cliff Notes.
Right. Yeah. Well, and here's where I'm going with that, because the summaries sometimes are not accurate either. It's only going to do the best that it can do with what it can do. I like the fact that summaries exist, whether it's Facebook, news articles. I'm with Sam on that. And it's kind of like you if you're really interested enough, you
Details
probably should
matter.
go get context, because if AI transposes one or two words and does something wrong, that can be the difference between
you're right.
a completely inaccurate story and something that, is legit. But so lately the organizational software that I use, it's called Todoist. A lot of people use that as it's a to-do list is how it originated, and it's one of the older ones out there. It's been around probably for 10 or 15 years now, and like all of them, they all compete with each other. They're all, evolving, and just in the last week, I had mentioned in the room, it started using summaries in what is coming to me. So what I have set up for email, because I have so many different emails coming from so many different directions, I want one central point to manage it all. So it's really about focus, right? And I think that's the whole concept of what a summary is supposed to be, is bite-sized so that you can consume more. Isn't that funny?
Well, yeah, it's basically a line and then, okay, I want to pay attention to this or not.
Right, exactly.
What's next?
Yeah. And it's really helpful because I will wind up with, I don't know, out of all the email that I get every day, so on average, I get between 200 to 300 email a day. From those, the ones that are actionable probably wind up being 20 to 30, but that's still a lot when you think about day to day to day to day. And looking at it in a long list just like becomes eye blistering. So when the AI summary became available, I'm like, this is awesome. And it also looks through the email, and if it sees a word that it says or thinks is a due date, it'll actually make that a due date and and
even
flag
if it's
it.
not right.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, that's what happened, and I'll give you an example of it. This is why it's a double-edged sword. I love it because it's simple and it's cool, but then again, just like Sam said, the dependency on it, you have to be so careful because, for example, it was an email. Actually, it was an email that both you and I were on, Sam, but it was an email thread that was started 3 months ago.
Oh, those are the worst.
3 months ago?
I cannot even follow.
Okay.
And don't even try to look at those on your phone.
No.
It was someone who they were just, I think they were picking up and, forwarding. It's an event that's coming up, and the event is, I guess, in 3 or 4 weeks, but the original email had a due date of 1/15 for follow-up. January the 15th was the follow-up, and it saw that in the subject line. So when my AI saw that yesterday,
you thought you were overdue.
We're in March.
Panics that
We're in March. No, it didn't. It scheduled it for January 15th, 2026.
Oh, relax.
Because the subject line of the email only said due by 1/15.
Okay.
And it's, if I hadn't gone in and read deeply the context, or if I had depended on it for the reminders and not me putting it in myself, I would have had something show up next year that's irrelevant, and I would have missed it by a year. The follow-up, right?
Wow.
So so it's
So it's just looking forward to
yeah.
them. Oh.
But the other thing is, I ChatGPT just announced that their latest version of their AI, within, I don't know how soon this will be, certainly within months, they will be able to connect to Google Drive, and there's something else it's going to be able to connect to, so that you can interact with documents and meetings and those kinds of things, and have it scan all of your stuff, and provide feedback and information, and again, summaries or whatever else. It's the next level. And Google has actually already announced the same thing. Why can't I think of it? Gemini. You got to remember all these AI names, right? Gemini is Google. And so by the end of this year, Google is saying their goal is to have Gemini be able to read your email, go through your Google Drive, go through all your Google Docs, through anything that you need so that it can better personalize everything. Wow. And the thing that makes me nervous about that is I think what makes everybody else nervous about it is that information has to go somewhere to be processed and then be sent back to you.
Another server.
And it's privacy. And so that means everything. I mean, if your Google Drive contains your financial data or whatever, before you interconnect all this stuff, you're going to need to make sure that you are you tell it what you want it to look at and what you don't want it to look at, or you move it somewhere else or something along those lines. But that's why I say it's going to be a buzzword from now on. I think that it's equally cool and equally scary at the same time because it's one of the biggest tech game changers ever, maybe since the smartphone and the internet itself. You know what I mean? Those were, you talk about two big things that revolutionized and changed everything. And
AI
I think,
will be one of those.
Yeah, I think AI is one of those, and for all the good, because there's a lot of good with it too. Because it can follow logic and it does a pretty good job with that. But the interpretation part is dangerous, and I just worry about the future of if AI is not good enough to really truly summarize something, or it reads a word the wrong way,
or the dates.
How much are you trusting it?
Yeah, exactly. Because if the goal is you can do more because of it, that means you're going to be paying less attention to certain parts of it, right?
You have to rely on it to be accurate.
Exactly.
Here's my concern with using it for help in your day-to-day workflow. And this is not just for you, so I'm not picking on you, Murphy. This is for me too. This would be for you, Sam, which I think Sam is a very detailed person, more detailed than you or I, Murphy.
Yeah.
But to me, if you are going to let an AI entity help manage your workflow, make sure that you have your basics down. If you're missing phone calls and you're missing email naturally, do not also use that to help you when you just explained why it's not reliable enough.
If you have gaps in your workflow, it's going to pick those up.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be gappier.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So always go back to mastering your basics and then let the other help be supplemental.
Yeah.
Is what and I say that for me too. I knew if I said it with just regards to your workflow, you would think I was picking on you, but I'm not. You do have a lot to manage. Sometimes you struggle with the basics because there's so much to manage. You're like, this is your focus goes into one thing and something else suffers, and that's just balance. That's life. That's everybody with a workflow. And I'm not against it at all. In fact, I had a conversation with someone I had just met a few weeks ago. You already know her, Sue, and we do work with her. And I met her, and we were at a social gathering. I'm sitting there talking with her, and we started talking about AI. I don't know how we got to it, and I was telling her about dabbling in it and how I really need to dabble in it for work life, just to play, just for the things that I manage, just for topics that we talk about and things that I manage. And she told me something I did not expect, but I loved it. Something that she is using it for in her life is not workflow, but her health. She has some AI bots or whatever you call them, apps, where she's trying to track and take note of her diet and her water intake and her sleep. And so she has trouble remembering it all, when to take zinc and things like that. And so she's got it down with an app that's AI assisted. And it's all about her health. And I thought, man, that is smart.
Yeah.
But also with that, have your basics down too. Make sure you are doing your basics so that it actually is supplemental and not a hurdle.
Yeah, only you know what you can prioritize. What it comes down to, which is probably one of the most difficult things, I say that for me, it may not be for other people, but when you prioritize, when you're a task-oriented person, if you don't prioritize, your tendency is going to be that list gets to be 60 long, and you think you've got to do everything on it yourself.
And in order.
Which is a fallacy. It's deciding which things really are the things you need to be doing, what can be done by AI, and then what does it need to be done at all? Because it's everything that's fed to us. We we're in a reactive world. We're in a world where we, Google something and we get something back and we act on it. And so I think we're used to reacting more than we are, acting on things. But the AI that has been around for forever. It just wasn't called AI. Voice transcription's been around for a long time. I find that very helpful on missed calls or voicemails because I know what it is that I've missed if someone's left a message.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And, where I get into trouble with this is and again, I think the persistence of the other person is important here also, where somebody will say, I tried calling you. It's like, well, did you leave me a message? No. And so, okay, well, you didn't leave me a message.
Or send me a text.
Or send me a text or something. Let me know that you need me to call you back.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not going to spend my
You're not
time
reacting to just missed calls.
I'm not returning missed calls. Right, exactly. So voice transcription's been around for a long time. Or smartwatches. I mean, I bought my first smartwatch 10 years ago, and it does the same thing today it did 10 years ago, which is it's time to get up and start walking around. I mean, it knows when, you know what I'm saying?
You used to have it alert you of text and phone calls. You must have stopped that.
Yeah, I stopped that.
I know.
I mean, the reason I stopped that, and honestly, I may need to go back to it because, as you know, Jodi, this is the weirdest thing. I'm missing text lately. Mm-hmm. But the problem, and I knew this would happen one day. My thing with text messages has always been, it's not the way I communicate regularly. If you need me for something in the moment, text me. Otherwise, I'm not going to get into long, because there are too many text messages that would come in, and that's what's begun to happen. Mm-hmm. Various alerts, various things that I get on my phone's constantly going off. What happens once you start hearing? You
hear nothing.
You gloss over. You don't hear anything anymore. And so I need my watch to do that, but I turned that off because it was too distracting. Because every
Can you
10
turn
minutes,
it on for just certain people?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
and I could go in there for certain contact
That's not
names.
me and you, Sam.
Yes.
I mean, the boss.
Yeah, actually, if you want to know what a geek that I am, because this is true.
I know.
If Jodi sends me an email now for something, which is not like there's a whole lot. 9 times out of 10, Jodi and I spend most of our time either texting or calling if we're not together, right?
Yeah.
But if Jodi sends me an email for something that needs to be acted on, and I've got little tags, I've got everything in my Gmail that will say, this is Jodi. This is the same thing for you, Sam. All these things come to the top. But if I'm not looking at my Gmail, which I'm not, I have stopped being reactive to all email.
So good.
Yeah. But. And so when Jodi sends me an email now, it texts me. I get a text notification that I have an email from Jodi.
You tell him why that happened?
I don't remember what.
You missed a pretty important email from me.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
It was work related. We try not to bring work home, and it was something that he wanted. We needed to get done. And so here's what I did. It's work. I sent it to me. I did my work, and I let you know in detail.
Yeah.
And then I never heard anything, and I finally was like, "Okay, Mister."
Right.
So here's my.
But technically, that's AI that does that too, right?
Yes.
So it's almost overwhelming. Jodi, your advice probably is the best advice, is really to go, okay, it's a tool.
Use it as a tool.
What do I need these tools for, or do I need them at all,
Yeah, you're the craftsman.
Yeah.
Everything else is a tool.
Craftsman, tools. That's a good tool.
Okay. Here's something fun. Let's have AI summarize this podcast for us.
Okay. Oh, we could do that.
Let's do it right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are programs that do that. There's a program called Descript that podcasters all over the place use to do the video, because we do the video for our podcast also.
So can
YouTube.
we, at the end of this podcast, read the summary of this podcast as from AI?
Yeah, if that's what you want.
I do.
Okay. I'll upload it, but then how are we going to share it back for anybody who's listening to the podcast?
We're going to tag it on the end.
Oh, okay.
All right, I just uploaded it. I'm using Otter AI. There's a bazillion programs you could use for it, but we'll just
Otter AI.
So we'll see.
Okay,
what do you think it's
cool.
going to say? It's going to summarize.
It's going to summarize it really well, and it's going to be funny because it's going to be AI summarizing a discussion about AI.
Mm-hmm. You think it has a sense of humor where it'll say, "You're talking about me"?
I don't think it has a sense of humor yet.
No.
Sorry, Sam.
Can they develop senses of humor?
So that's actually what they are doing with Grok, which is the one that
GROK.
Yeah, it does. It has. It claims to be more human in what it's doing, but
it does feel like it, because I've used the Chat GPT that we use through Bing, and I've also used Grok a lot, and Grok seems to talk to you normally.
Yes, it does.
As opposed to, here is what you are looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so Chat GPT, which is not the same as Copilot, see, there's so many of them.
Copilot, that's the one I've been
Chat
using.
GPT has their latest version, 4.5, is supposed to be in response to Grok. Both Grok and Gemini have said, look, we're going to be more human. We're going to be more, like a conversation. So it's still transcribing. So
Our whole podcast. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
this is going to take.
Do
a
we
minute.
need to stop talking so it'll stop transcribing? Probably.
Well, then that would end the podcast.
No, we're going to tack on the summary.
All right, here's what it summarized. Are you ready to find
Totally.
out? Okay, so, it gives action items too.
Of course. That's your kind of thing, Murph.
Yeah. And this is probably will go even deeper.
Okay.
It's first batch. Okay. It says this conversation revolves around the increasing integration of AI in various aspects of life and work, with a focus on AI-generated summaries and their potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
Murphy discusses how AI summaries in his organizational software help manage his emails, but can also lead to inaccuracies such as misinterpreting due dates.
Yes.
Jodi and Sam express concerns about relying too heavily on AI for workflow management and emphasize the importance of mastering basic tasks before using AI as a supplement.
Yes.
The discussion also touches on AI's potential in health tracking and the balance between AI's benefits and privacy concerns.
Wow.
That's a pretty impressive.
That's it?
That's all
What
it
are
says.
the action
wow.
items?
13 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, it's in 2 sentences.
That's a summary, though.
You guys are talking about AI.
Right.
That was a summary. That was a
Yeah.
very impressive summarization.
Here are the action items. Explore the use of AI-powered tools for health and wellness tracking.
Yes.
Investigate the ability to customize AI notifications and alerts on smartwatches and other devices. And then here's the third one. Test the AI summary feature at the end of the podcast, which we just did.
Yay!
Isn't that wild?
You know, it's funny. Those 3 things you were talked about doing. You were saying your friend is doing that one.
Right.
That's why
Murphy
it's
says
on
he
the-
needs to add things back to his watch.
Right.
And,
And
then
then-
we need to check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's looking for those
It's
keywords.
those words that say, oh, this is action, this is action. Very cool. I
Yeah.
feel like it was a full exercise and I learned a little bit.
By the way, how did
Me
it
too.
spell Jodi?
Jody.
Uh-huh.
Did not get that
Not
right.
right, AI. You need to work on that, AY.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jody podcast.